what's going on, everyone? This is Nick. If you're new here, I'm a guitarist based in Brooklyn, and today I'm going to be talking to you about George Russell's tonal order. I also want to preface this video by saying that this is the theories of George Russell, not the theories of myself, so if you have any qualms with this, I'm not the guy to take it up with. I'm just delivering you this information that I've had the privilege of studying. Now, if you're familiar at all with the Lydian Chromatic Concept, basically the tonal order is kind of one thing that he used to structure the Lydian Chromatic Concept. And essentially what the tonal order does is that it ranks intervals from most consonant to most dissonant. So basically the ways you can use this is essentially knowing these tones in their order, and when you're writing music or when you're improvising music, knowing that these tones related to a major chord are going to be sort of consonant or dissonant. Part of George Russell's Lydian Chromatic Concept is that everything is major, so the one chord, which is Lydian, is going to be your kind of home base, and if you see a minor chord, it's actually going to be 6, which is traditionally known as a Dorian sound. If you see a dominant chord, it's going to be a 2 chord, in accordance to Lydian, because Lydian is normally the 4 chord, but now it's the 1 chord. So we have the 4 chord, which is Lydian, then we have a dominant chord, which is 2, which is normally the mix of Lydian. So with that logic, he basically argues that everything is major. Whenever you're using a minor chord, those tonal orders still apply, but to the relative Lydian mode, if that makes sense. And essentially what he's doing is he's categorizing intervals from most consonant to most dissonant, so when you're writing a melody, when you're writing chords, you know how dissonant or consonant you want to be, and you kind of have control over that. I studied this with Ben Schwendener, who came up with the book Organic Music Theory. Check out the link in the bio if you want to purchase that book, because that book is amazing and it's a great way into the Lydian Chromatic Concept. But he would always say that George Russell did the Lydian Chromatic Concept and did all of this in order to not repeat ideas when he's composing music. So essentially he would kind of set parameters, like for example, if we're using tonal order, he'd be like, okay, this piece is going to revolve around the 9th through 12th tonal order, so it's going to be really dissonant. Or this piece is going to revolve around the 3rd and 7th tonal order. And he would strategically use those notes in accordance to consonant and dissonant to create more consonant or dissonant sounds. Or I'm going to go from the earlier tonal order to the later tonal order. And if you've heard George Russell's music, all of his compositions were pretty distinct. For better or for worse, I think he achieved his goal. It's also kind of a way to acquaint yourself better with the intervals, because now you know how they feel, and now you have like some kind of emotional connection with them, so it's a great asset in that sense. So essentially what Russell used to create the tonal order is the Overtone Series. Some people may know this also as the Harmonic Series. And according to Wikipedia, a harmonic series is a sequence of frequencies, musical tones, or pure tones in which each frequency is an integer multiple of a fundamental. Pitched musical instruments are often based on an acoustic resonator such as a string or a column of air, which oscillates at numerous modes simultaneously. What the f does that mean? Essentially, whenever I play a note, there's essentially different overtones coming out when I play them. Now to demonstrate on the guitar, essentially the overtones would kind of be like this. We have this E fundamental frequency, then we have this E overtone, then we have this B overtone. So from that E to the B, we have a perfect 5th. The next intervals are a perfect 4th, a major 3rd, a minor 3rd, and then it keeps going. Essentially, that's kind of why we have major and minor chords, and that's why they're the kind of like the fundamental building block of Western music, is because they're built on the Overtone series and using the distinct intervals within them. However, George Russell wanted to seek the most pure interval, which is the 5th, because it's the first non-distinct interval in the Overtone series. So essentially, with the Lydian Chromatic Concept, what he did was that he stacked 5ths and created this sort of sequence. And when you stack 5ths, I'm gonna stack it from E, because I can't do this completely if I do it from C because of the range of the guitar. We get that's the sound I played at the beginning. Now I'm gonna play those notes in order starting from C. I'm gonna jump octaves a little so I can get the range, but if I do it in E, there's gonna be a lot of accidental that might be kind of confusing. So the first one we have is C, which is the root. Then the next one we have is G, which is the perfect 5th. Then we have D, which is a 9. Then we have A, which is a 13 or the 6th. Then we have E, which is the major 3rd. Then we have B, which is the major 7th. And then I'm going to jump down, so we have B, and then we have F sharp, which is a sharp 11. So if we take all of those notes and we arrange them together in some form of scale, we have the Lydian mode, which is basically the basis of the Lydian Chromatic Concept. George Russell argues that since it's a scale made of perfect 5ths, it's the most consonant scale. Now in addition to that, each of those intervals correspond to a number which he assigns called tonal order. These can be transposed into any keys, and basically they're predominantly major. So for one, he argues that major is more consonant than minor. So if we rank each interval so far by tonal order, we have the root, which is first tonal order. We have the 5th, which is the second tonal order. Then we have the 9, which is 3rd tonal order. We have the 6, or the 13, which is the 4th tonal order. Then we have the third, which is the fifth tonal order. Then we have the seventh, which is the sixth tonal order. And then we have a sharp 11, which is the seventh tonal order. Now for the eighth tonal order, the next one would be C sharp. George Russell argues that we shouldn't have it go continuously in a circle because it's not a cycle. And he believes that C sharp is the most dissonant interval because it sounds like this. So he actually pushes that all the way to the end and skips it. The next one in sequence, if we continue that fifth from the C sharp, after moving the C sharp to the end, would be a G sharp. And that one's going to be the sharp 5. So that's the eighth tonal order. And he argues that the eighth Lydian chromatic scale is Lydian Augmented. So he replaces the fifth with the sharp 5th, which gives us... If you've seen my video on the modes of melodic minor, you'll know that that is Lydian Augmented, which is the third mode of melodic minor, if you're familiar in melodic minor terms. Now if we keep going from there, we have G sharp, then we have D sharp or E flat. This brings us to Lydian Diminished. If you've seen my video on the modes of harmonic major, this is the fourth mode of harmonic major. And then he keeps going with that. That brings us to B flat, which is going to be the flat 7th. That's going to be the 10th tonal order, which gives us Lydian Dominant, which is the fourth mode of melodic minor. Then we have the perfect fourth, so there's that Ionian sound. And so with the incorporation of the 4, he stops replacing the notes in the Lydian Chromatic Concept, and he uses the diminished scale, which he calls auxiliary diminished, which I just call the diminished scale. So he's using the 9th tonal order, which is the E flat, which is the minor third. Then he's using the 11th tonal order, which is the perfect fourth. He's got the sharp 11 again. He's using the 8th tonal order, which is the sharp 5th. Then he goes back to the natural 6th, and then major 7th, and then the root again. Then finally, we get to the end, which is the 12th tonal order, which is the C sharp. So for that one, he calls this scale auxiliary diminished blues. I usually call it auxiliary diminished or whole half diminished. And to recap everything, we basically have this tonal order. We have C, which is the root, first tonal order. Then we have G, which is the perfect fifth, second tonal order. Then we have D, which is the 9th, which is the third tonal order. A, which is the 6th or the 13th, which is the fourth tonal order. E, which is the major third, which is the fifth tonal order. Then we can jump all the way to B, which is the major 7th, which is the sixth tonal order. Then we have F sharp, which is the seventh tonal order. Then the next one would be C sharp. He puts that to the end, so we have G, which is the eighth tonal order. And G sharp is the sharp 5th. Then we have E flat or D sharp, which is going to be the minor third, or sharp 9. That's going to be the 9th tonal order. And we have B flat, which is the minor 7th, which is the 10th tonal order. Then we have F natural, which is the perfect fourth, and the 11th tonal order. And then we have C sharp, which is the 12th tonal order and the most dissonant because it's flat 9. So I hope you've enjoyed this video on George Russell's tonal order. I hope you found this useful. If you have any questions about it, please leave a comment down below. If there's any other video topics you want me to cover, please let me know in the comments as well. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. I'm making new videos every Monday and Thursday, and they all have to do with topics like educational music theory videos. They have to do with guitar videos, composition, some gear demos, some performances, stuff like that. So if you're interested in all this kind of stuff, click subscribe. But thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll see you next time.